Hello everyone, Ragewood here, back with another Godforge video. You know what day it is? It's Friday again. It's Saturday, Sunday. What that means, it's time for Friday leaks, and we have a slightly different one for you today. It's not a hero. In fact, we have 12 photos that we are going to be going through. Now, if the last Friday leak video is anything to go by, 12 photos, 26 minutes on each, that gives us about 4 hours worth of talking today. So, get yourself some popcorn, grab yourself a drink, and without further ado, let's get into it. So I want everyone to sort of close their eyes and imagine as I set the scene for you. Don't worry if you don't want to close your eyes. Joke's on you, I can make this a black screen anyway. It's early morning. You wake up. You're not quite sure what time it is exactly. The sun is beating through the window onto you. You get that familiar humid feeling to the day. Beads of sweat dripping down your forehead. Not the most comfortable night's sleep. You swing your legs off the bed onto the stone cobbled floor. You stand up and stretch. You hear many sounds that you've heard before. The sound of the tree canopy swaying in the breeze. Various bird songs and other animal calls that you've heard a million times before. You step towards the door where the sun is peeking through the various cracks. You open it up, and then bang! You're looking at a courtyard, and what a courtyard it is. Look how cool this is. Today's spoiler is of the Kyber level concept art. We are in the Amazon rainforest, and there is so much to take in here. Such a good sort of concept. Many things that I sort of learned or knew of in school. You can see in this courtyard area here, we've got the sort of sacrifice being made to the various gods, very typical of Aztec and Mayan sort of, or at least we believe to be. I wasn't around, so who knows. I think they used to do them at the top of the temples and then throw them off down the stairs as like a sacrifice to the gods. In this one, we've got it pooling all down here and then coming into this font in the middle. Certainly wouldn't bathe in it, but there we go. I love this. There's just so good. I love the sort of the pillars here. We've got the various snakes sort of going round the bottom there. Godheads or depictions of godheads. Potentially the monkey god, the Mayan monkey god, perhaps. Maybe it's a dragon. Who knows? Over on the left here, we've got another, I don't know what you call it, sort of a massive, imposing sort of figure. Obviously leading into another room, your stone huts there. Various pottery and other works of masonry around. Wicked concept design here. I do like this. I like we've got the giant pyramid in the background, and I don't know if this is going to be the actual courtyard area that we fight in the levels that you see on the R room. But if we do, there's a reason that I sort of like the larger elements to this concept, such as the statue face here and the pyramid in the background. And I'll explain why, and I'll link it back to another post that Fateless made showing other levels a couple of weeks ago. So if you jump on Fateless's Instagram, Reddit, YouTube, they're all sort of in a similar sort of, or they're all in those different areas. They shared a picture of this sort of Hindu level just here. We were also given a concept art, similar to what I've got now, of this Svarga level. And if we go to the YouTube posts, there is also one with all three of these and the Chinese level just here. Okay, so Hindu, Svarga, and Chinese. Now they asked us, which of these level concepts are we most excited to see in Godforge? Okay. Now for me, I answered honestly, and I also gave some feedback. So for me, I liked Svarga number 1, I liked the Hindu concept number 2, and the Chinese concept 3rd. And the reason for that is something that Fateless are doing in their game, which is different to a lot of other games, is you've got exploding scenery, essentially, okay? In the Aru level, which I might try and find a quick video here, you can see that when Zeus does his ultimate, there is a sort of a pillar or a statuette in the background which comes crumbling down, okay? Now, the reason why I like the Chinese level least compared to the other two that we see here is because of the sort of what I think are focal points in the map. So in both Svarga and Hindu, you've got these statuettes at the back, these very large sort of pieces which you notice straight away. It's something cool to blow up. I know that sounds strange. I'm not suggesting, the gods might be powerful enough to blow these up, but it is something cool and exciting to blow up. Something that catches the eye, draws your attention to straight away. Now, in the Chinese level, now this here could just be, the angle of the screenshot that we've got here, but it's very kind of meh to me. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing really in this bottom picture that sort of grips you, like it's not imposing or anything like that. You've got these jade statuettes. You've got the stereotypical sort of temple gateway door, this kind of thing here, your jade banner on the side. But there's nothing really gripping. Like, if these statues blow up, it's kind of cool, but meh. Whereas, if the head pops off this giant statue, that's going to look wicked, The arms, they go boom. Same over here, a lightning bolt coming crashing into here and going bang. That would look wicked. And that's why I also like this sort of Mayan picture concept that we have here. You have this very sort of, I guess the word is imposing pyramid in the background. Now again, the work involved to blow this up is going to be silly, but the statue face, whilst smaller, still catches the eye. When I look at this, you've got this massive mountain region in the background. You've got the sun coming over the mountaintop and, coating the canopy in the sort of golden light. And it's just a very cool setting. But we have these pieces, let's say, which catch your eye. The altar. If that altar blows up and the skeleton goes off, that would be really funny. And I just didn't get that from that one sort of China picture just here, which I did get from these two. Especially Svarga. If you take a look at that one there, we flick back to the picture, it's very similar. And that's what I love about the pair of them. But super cool concept all the same. I do love this. Looks really cool. But that's not all we've got to look into today. We're going to look at some of the smaller details that go into sort of making levels, even down to the pottery and the way that the art guys at Magic Media have sort of done all this. The level of detail is awesome and it is so wicked to see. So as you can see here, we have Mesoamerican building number 1. And just look at the detail on this building. It's amazing how something as basic as just a house, which, let's be honest, is quite possibly going to be just in the background, you know, with no real sort of attention being paid to it. I love, say, the level of detail that has still gone into it. Now I'm just going to lift myself up here so you can see it says orange fungus thick moss. You're going to see these two pictures on a lot of the videos that we're going to, a lot of the pictures that we're going to look through today. So I'll just pop myself back down here. All right. So what do we see here? Graphicism, or I would call it like iconography, I suppose. Stereotypical of sort of that Mesoamerican era, all along the side of the house here, as well as the snake head sculptures. Now, this is probably a very stereotypical Incan, Mayan, Aztec sort of hut. And if you look at pictures of Machu Picchu, you'll see they're sort of very similar, albeit a lot of them don't have roofs or anything anymore, but it's a similar sort of setup. Love the thatch. You've got the trunk along the top as your support beam for the thatch, nestled in the stone masonry just there. And you've got sort of like your inspirations over here. Here we got sort of frontal view, side views, and rear views. And so you've got the concept that there likely would have been some sort of wood structure underneath. And we also have what our characters or men are going to look like to scale here. Really love this piece. And again, just credit to the artists at Magic Media for the work they do. It just looks so good. And if I pause here and pull up a picture of Wikipedia, there we are. The legend that is Machu Picchu. It's one of the places I would love to visit in my lifetime. I'm severely out of shape, so climbing mountains isn't my thing, but this is the sort of thing they would have drawn inspiration from. And as you can see, we've got these stone houses with the sort of high arch that we saw in that Mesoamerican building. In fact, actually, if I bring that up, and there we go. Yeah, as you can see, we've got this sort of high top ridge, which you've got here. This is a very zoomed out picture. I'll try and get another closer one up here, but this is what a village during this time would have looked like. Obviously, there's no roofs on here because the thatch has obviously gone over time, but stone strong as ever, and this site is preserved. We've got the various tiers, as you can see. But yeah, just very accurate, and that's what we all like. Obviously, when you're making a game, you are allowed sort of creative licensing, artistic licensing. You can make it your own. It's yours sort of thing, but I like when they are true to the source material, if you will. I do like that, so credit to the team at Fateless for doing that. So then here is building number 2. Slightly different. We've got the stone roof now, so there's slight sort of advancement, I suppose, in sort of technology, people's skills with the stone roof over the thatch, which naturally would have happened as they sort of evolved as societies. Still staying true, we've got sort of like the snake iconography, graphicism here, the extended line snakes as well across the front door, like that, as well as the sculptures, that sort of very sort of imposing look right there. This might have been a building of more importance rather than your standard sort of residential abode. Again, you still got your front views, your back views, your side views. Very cool. So the sort of the moss effects as well. Red paint. Is it paint? Is it blood? No one knows. But yeah, very cool looking building here. There isn't too much more to say on this that I didn't say on the other one. But it does look awesome. I love what they are doing. Moving on. Snake sculptures. Now, this is something you see a lot again in Latin America, Chichen Itza, and all various other ancient places. I have the feeling it's related to some sort of god, one that we might get in game, but I don't know which god it was for. So I'm going to pause it and do a quick little bit of research. Yeah, so here's one from, I've just forgotten the name of the building, like the Temple of Quetzalcoatl. And it says specifically that these are the heads of the feathered serpent, which is, I believe, Quetzalcoatl, as well as these sort of snake sculpture heads that you've got on the grand staircase. Very cool, and looks exactly like what we had in the first picture. Here, as you can see, we still have sort of these feathered serpents mirrored perfectly. Love that. Yeah, so looking at some research, Teotihuacan is the actual name for the large pyramid or the Temple of the Feathered Serpent. These are some examples, and it says that serpents had many symbolic qualities in Mexican culture and belief. Because snakes move on the ground and often live in holes, Mesoamerican peoples associated them with the earth. Cave or temple entrances were sometimes represented by open serpent mouths. Their swift, sinuous motions also likened them to both running water and lightning. Their rapid strikes and sometimes poisonous bites made them symbols of aggression, and in Mesoamerican cultures the sky was conceived as a great supernatural serpent that arcs above the world. Whatever the specific meaning, large supernatural serpent heads would have served as a warning to anyone who approached the entrance or structure they guarded. There you go. And that is why we see a lot of these sort of everywhere. Really cool little detail. Love that. So moving on. The Mesoamerican Pyramid. This is that big, daunting, imposing thing in the back of the concept art. And, to scale, we've got the normal buildings which we've seen, and the tall building which is coming in a moment. And then this massive pyramid. Now I've seen the size, we're probably not going to be able to blow this up, but how cool does this look? Pyramids are wondrous things. The ancient civilizations of the world in general, Egypt, Latin Americans, all built them, and these large grandeur worshipping sites to house kings, gods, and things like that. I love that, and yeah, how they did it, who knows? Who knows? But very, very cool design. You have the tiers here that we saw in the Machu Picchu earlier. Very common of the time. You had the sacrificial altar at the top, as I mentioned earlier, where they were often sacrificed, and then thrown down the stairs. Wouldn't want to fall down that, though. That looks painful. Huge, huge, huge building that we've got here. And I expect we're going to see it in the background. Maybe the boss fight at the top? That would be cool. Fighting the feathered serpent at the top here, where maybe you need to bring ranged heroes because you can't hit him. Or, in the video that I did on Demo 2.0, go check that out, Simon actually spoils some sort of what I believe to be a Mesoamerican goddess in sort of like that undead sort of look, green skin or spider web. Maybe she is the person who calls this her humble abode or her work site. Who knows, but very cool here. Love the pyramid. We then come to a mechanical totem calendar. Now I'm going to move myself just up the top here, just so we can see this bit down here. So it is well documented that, you know, the Mayans specifically were incredibly clever people. They got the times right and often aligned their temples to match sort of 10, midnight, noon. They knew all of that kind of stuff. And I think the Mayan calendar actually was the inspiration behind sort of like the 2012 film and sort of the destruction of the world, because in the Mayan calendar certain things had happened in our timeline which they predicted to be right. So when the Mayan calendar ended at a specific date in 2012, everyone assumed the world was just going to end. And yeah, I love the call out to that, essentially. Now, whether this was real, whether they actually used sort of turning cylinders like that, I don't know. Or whether this is Fateless's adaptation on those. But it's still going to be a cool piece of scenery to have. I imagine they haven't just made it up. I imagine they will have got the detail from some sort of like source material somewhere. Are these going to be spinning in the game? Don't know. Be kind of cool. Apologies for banging the mic there. Still got the orange fungus here, essay and the iconography, and how it's going to look compared to our characters in game, slightly above human height. I'm going to keep myself at the top here for this next one. We got a Pakal relief sculpture. Now this is going to be similar to, say, that massive head we see on the door in the first concept art. Okay, again, we'll just flick back to that. So similar to this one that we had here. So this is going to be the sort of that inspiration for the Pakal relief sculpture. Now, this Pakal relief sculpture is another throwback, which I love as well. Now, Pakal, also known as King Pakal the Great, was a ruler of the Mayan state of Palenque, not entirely sure. Now, Palenque wasn't the biggest Mayan state. You had Tikal and another one, but Tikal's a very well-known one. But yes, King Pakal the Great ruled for 68 years. He died at the age of 80, which is something like the 4th or 5th longest reign of any monarch in the world to date, and is still the longest reign of any monarch in the Americas, which is incredible to think about, because we're going back thousands of years, and in those days, many kings died around 30, 40 just because of conditions. So the fact that this man lived to 80 is incredible. In fact, what I'll do is I'll pull up the wiki, and we can go through it a little bit together. So here we have Wikipedia again. I'll throw myself in the corner once more. 5th longest verified rule for 68 years. And it was the longest for a millennia. It's incredible. And the other thing about King Pakal was his tomb, or his burial chamber. He was found in 1952 at the Temple of Inscriptions with a jade funeral mask and beads. Yeah, it's amazing to think. Here's a picture of the palace of Palenque as it is today. And what made him so great, if you will, is the fact he expanded many of his villages, his empire's buildings, he added, which is explained actually in the wiki. Blah blah blah. Yes, first construction part. The temple today called the Forgotten. The building was already in existence, but he enlarged it greatly by adding monument rooms onto the old level of the building. He then constructed Building E and used white paint rather than red, which was used elsewhere. Houses B and C were built in 1661 and 1668. House A covered in frescoes, prisoners. Yeah, it just, what he did was insane for the time. And he was found in the Temple of Inscriptions, and this is the Temple of Inscriptions as we see today. And the big thing about his death and his burial is the sarcophagus lid. Okay, this is sort of a replica of what it was on there. You've got King Pakal here sitting on the mouth of a serpent, and the idea was that he was the great serpent. He opened the mouth to show him the way to the realm of the dead. But people believe actually that, and you can read this sort of in your own time, that in this pseudo-archaeology sort of thing, that it's subject to great sort of speculation that they weren't alone back then, be it aliens or some other kind of modern society had influenced them to build these pyramids, and all other things like that. In fact, I believe there's an entire Netflix series on bless me, on the idea that the pyramids and all these other things around the world, that there was a what's the word, a civilization that was more advanced than what we believe them to be. But going back to the Pakal relief structure, as I've said before, I love the fact that they're doing callbacks to the sources and just, great things from the time. And I think this sort of confirms that it's not Aztec, it's going to be a Mayan sort of Mesoamerican. Which, if they do, please have Camazotz. He is the coolest Mayan god ever. But yeah, I love it. I think it's great. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with, Mayan history, do take some time to go check it out. There is so much more than just Chichen Itza. Say the Pakal story in itself is incredible. We do have some pictures of some of the walls that are going to be used in the various levels. We've got the stone bricks, sort of that volcanic bricks, with the line patterns that we see associated with sort of snakes and the feathered serpent. Red paint, as mentioned in that Pakal thing, it was quite common that they would use red paint. Smooth stone structures, all looks very cool, and I can't wait to see it in the level. And then we've got some of the graphicisms and iconographies that we're going to see. Various snake heads, sort of example applied to some sort of ceramics. Snaky forms. And here's the real life inspiration. As you can see, I like the fact that they always sort of give, in their mood boards, where they got it from, where they saw it, that kind of thing. And then extruded geometric patterns. Again, here's some more real life inspirations there. So we're going to see a lot of these just throughout the Siba or Kaiba level. And then we come to the tall building. So remember, this is tiny compared to this Great Pyramid. This is like, just to give you an idea of the size of this pyramid, by the way. Back to the tall building. So again, this is going to be slightly similar to the pyramid. Obviously, just way smaller. Okay. Going to have the faction flags at the top. Just gives you an idea on the size compared to our heroes. So imagine that Great Pyramid. Again, with the blood at the top from the sacrifice that was no doubt taken inside. Still got the tier structure. I love the wear on the side too. I think that is pretty cool here. Cracking in the stone, as would happen over time with sort of roots from the undergrowth, subsidence, that kind of thing. And in comparison to the smaller buildings that we see, yeah, wicked stuff. Some of the thatched huts, which we're going to see dotted around. You got the rope sort of keeping the thatch on the roof. And they mention that these huts can be placed anywhere in the level, specifically near walls and buildings, almost like old sort of shop outlets. In sort of modern shops, you have sort of pull-out blinds and things like that. You'd have stalls perhaps under here selling fruit, that sort of thing. And you got the various variations in sizes: triple thatch, double thatch, single thatch. And I think this literally says that this whole unit is actually just a mirrored version of a half unit, which makes sense in game design and various things like that. If you can mirror it to complete the structure, happy days. And then I believe our last picture today is some of the ceramic pottery. So as I mentioned in the first one, we're going to see some of this dotted around the level as well. And again, just super detailed, looks great. These are the broken looks which aren't coloured in, but I guess this is after we've gone around, thrown our thunderbolts and what have you, sort of everywhere. And they say they've got the snake heads sort of on the pottery there as well. And I just think, just all together it just shows what a great job the Fateless and Magic Media team are doing. And then here we are back at the sort of the main picture. So you're going to have these bowls, these vases dotted around the level. Feathered serpents, the Great Pyramid in the background. The reliefs, all that, it's all just, again, just great. If it's half as good as what this picture is, obviously this is a concept art, I don't see how they can fail in making a good, visually pleasing level. And there we are, guys. That is today's Friday leak, or this week's Friday leak rather. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I do appreciate all of you who do. Look after yourselves. Take care. Work hard. But as always, play harder. And I'll see you in another one soon. Cheers.